Hello, hope you're well and welcome to episode 21 of Benjy's Cafe podcast with me, Ben Harlow. Joining me for a cuppa this week is the broadcaster Pete Price. With his range of talk shows on Radio City, Pete broadcast to the people of Merseyside for nearly 50 years, winning 29 awards and was inducted into the Radio Academy Hall of Fame. Pete was made Citizen of Honour by the City of Liverpool and continues to entertain and inform with his podcast, The Very Best of Pete Price, and his weekly column in the Liverpool Echo. Pete works tirelessly for charity and is patron of the Clare House Children's Hospice on the Wirral. In this episode, we discuss Pete's career in radio and the entertainment industry, plus his love for Liverpool.
It's a remarkable place. Now we're way up on top and we blew the world apart with Eurovision. It was, no one will ever top that. For all of us, for us, for the Eurovision, everybody, people came from all over the world. It was remarkable. It was the happiest time.
It's a lovely chat, highlighting the importance of making people happy. Pop the kettle on and enjoy listening. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast, Pete Price.
Good morning, Pete.
Morning. That was a nice introduction. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you. I first met you probably 2-3 months ago. I was with my beautiful partner, Rita, and we went to see Blue at Liverpool Philharmonic Hall, and we were with your friend, Claire Sweeney. And I have to say, we spent the night together, Pete. We boogied, we chuckled. You were so friendly. I just want to thank you for that. It was such a fun night.
Well, I felt after the night that we've been friends forever. I mean, if I was a straight man, I would definitely fight you for Rita. I love her. I'm not a straight man, so Rita might have problems.
Well, I tell you what, we look good together. It was good fun, wasn't it?
No, you're a bit tall for me. By the way, it's just been announced I'm a voice of one of the dwarves in Snow White at St. Helens. It's just been announced. Johnny Vegas is one and a couple of famous people up here. And it's a lovely idea. So
Yeah.
36 pantos, and I'm now doing another panto as a voice.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you mentioned Panto there, Pete. I played my first pantomime Dame at the Blackpool Grand last year, the world's tallest willow twanky. You've played Dame for a long time, haven't you? You know, joined the likes of Liverpool greats Paul O'Grady. He was a wonderful Dame. I saw him in Snow White, actually, at the Victoria Palace in London. But it's such fun, isn't it? I bet you can't wait to be joining that production at Christmas.
He's the only Dame that scared the living daylights out the kids. And in fact, when he was in Miss Hannigan in Annie, the kids were crying, weeping. He was a dear friend, but a wicked Dame. I gave up being a Dame because I got nipple rash all the time. It got on my nerves.
Well, I started to get that, so give me a few years. I might be hanging up the...
Hang up the bra.
Hang up the gossip.
It's interesting. As a working comic, because I've been a working comic as well, you play muddles and you play the comedy parts, and then you get a bit older, so you have to move to Dame. And then you get old, and you play the Baron. Well, there's no laughs in being Baron, so I gave up. But it's incredible, you know. I mean, you can't be Cinderella's... dear friend at my age.
You must have played Dame at the beautiful Liverpool Empire. I mean, what a cultural mecca Liverpool is. I've played the Empire, but there's the Royal Court. It's a real hotbed of creativity, isn't it?
I've done 36 pantos, and the best one, without any shadow of a doubt, was at the Liverpool Empire with Cilla Black, who came out of retirement, and was a dear friend. And in fact, just up there from where I'm sitting, I have a bronze statue of Cilla that I had commissioned, which is beautiful. So she's with me. So I'm telling the story, Cilla. Right, she said, all right. So she came out of retirement. We had Ted Robbins, we had Les Dennis, we had Jennifer Ellison. It was a hell of a show, and I was one of the dames. And it was the famous story where Cilla was on stage. She had the baddie, and she went, "How shall I kill him?" Only in Liverpool. And somebody shouted, "Sing to him." To which she walked off the stage, and everyone thought she was upset. She wasn't. She'd had a little accident down below. She thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard, and it was great. And we went back on, and we couldn't work, and I couldn't remember my lines. And I looked at her and I went, and she went, "Don't look at me." I haven't a clue where we are.
Well, Pete, you've worked with some absolute legends, of course, and you started your stand-up, your comedy career at the Shakespeare Club in Liverpool. That must have been so excited to be there during that period. So many big names arriving in Liverpool to entertain the city.
I think the sad thing is, Ben, about that is I'm sad we don't have it now, because young people, it was a wonderful evening. It was dinner, it was 3 acts, and it was dancing at the end. And you didn't want to do anything. You wanted, it was the gas lamps and the original boxes. And the Shakespeare was built in 1880. Mary Lloyd played there, Sir Lawrence Olivier played there. Then it became a theatre club, and I went in as host for quite a few years and finished up as a director. But that's another story. But some of the names we've had, and we had support acts that became famous, and we had everyone from the Four Tops to the New Seekers to Dave Allen to the Comedians when they first came out. And one of the best things I ever did, which was hysterical, we had the first ever stage that was basement, electric, ground level, and then up. And there was only 2 in the country. One was us, and the other was Talk of the Town in London, which was one of my favourite places to go. And it was in the days when we had Batley Variety Club and Wakefield Theatre Club and the Hollow and the Shakespeare. It was those days. Anyway, I had this great idea, because we were always looking for new ideas. We put hair on, which was incredible. Now, for those people who've never seen hair, they start off in slow motion and walk through the audience. Now, Saturday night, we used to have gangsters in the Shakespeare, nice gangsters, who, by the way, the old-fashioned gangsters, if they had a problem, they'd meet at the gym, put a pair of boxing gloves on, kill each other, shake hands, and come back. Proper gangsters. So picture this. We've got the gangsters are having dinner, and the show starts on this amazing stage, and there's about, I don't know, 100, about 50 people on the stage, and they walk through the audience slow motion, climb over the tables while they're eating dinner, and the gangsters are going, I won't use all the language, so they get on the stage. The nude scene at the end of Act 1, it was like, I can't explain. I could not use the language. It was hysterical. It was tremendous. We made all the national newspapers, and then I nearly got sacked because of it, because of the weight. It bent the stage, and it cost us £10,000 to get the stage. I got into a lot of trouble over that.
But the people of Liverpool, Pete, they've always loved having a good time. They love their music, their theatre, their drama. Why do you think that is? It's just such a... We moved up, of course, last September to Liverpool, and straight away we were hit by the friendliness of people. They all want to have a good time, and also real caring for each other. That's what struck me, first of all. But also, you just feel the love of music in the city, and I think that's fantastic.
Well, first of all, you can't be by yourself in Liverpool. I promise you, you can't be by yourself. People will not allow you to be by yourself. Hey, come on, oh, you're in the bed. Come on. Yeah, get in there. So that's the way they are. The music has always been the same. Comedy, as they say, you've got to be a comic to live up here, because that audience are funnier than you are. And that's another story. But the music scene, I was at school. I wasn't in the business then, and I would take sag off school on a Wednesday, take some time off, go to the Cavern, queue down Matthew Street to go down this Paddy on the door, and if Paddy didn't like you didn't get in, down this one staircase which was stone. Totally illegal now. Health and safety, totally illegal. You'd go down there, you'd get your bowl of soup, you have your CND badge on, your scarf on, your long hair, and you used to have to eat your bowl of soup quickly before the sweat came down into the soup, and you had to use the toilet before that got blocked, and then you did the Cavern stop, and you'd watch people like the Beatles, the Big Three. Now, Big Three, they were great. They used to have a girl singer get up with them, sing Fever. What was her name? Cilla Black. And then she'd go back on the cloakrooms and do the coats. It was an atmosphere, and it was a shilling in old money to get in, but it was great. And the Beatles weren't the biggest. Jerry Marsden was bigger than anyone. The Big Three, the Escorts, there was King Size Taylor. There was so much. That power of the music was ridiculous. And then when the Beatles sacked Pete Best, who was a fabulous looking drummer,
Yeah.
unlike Ringo Starr, but don't start me on that. We marched outside the cavern to get Pete Best back. And the other thing which was fascinating, when their first record came out, Love Me Do, we actually marched again. We didn't want people to buy the record because we didn't want to lose the Beatles to the world. We
Oh my
knew how big,
goodness.
so we tried to stop the record being sold.
My goodness. And what was that feeling like, Pete, when you first saw them perform? Could you tell, my word, they've got a spark?
No, I thought they were good, but there were
Yeah.
so many, honestly, there's so many bands. And by the way, sound checks and all that, you went, your mic's on, get on with it. It was raw. It was raw music. That's what was good about it.
Oh, fantastic. And then once you started your comedy career, Pete, what was then the leap into broadcasting? I mean, you're a broadcasting legend, and your shows just wonderful over the years, helping so many. What was that? Were you approached, or was that something that you'd always fancied moving into after live performance?
I didn't even know where I was going to go with my career. I was a chef at the Cabin Club in Liverpool, not the Cavern, the Cabin
Yeah.
Club, which was a very famous club. I'd been to catering college. In fact, it's great. So my mum, I'm adopted. My mum gave me the best advice in the world. She said, please do me one favor, get a career first, then go into show business. And I listened to her, which I was very proud that I listened. And I didn't know whether to be a chef or a hairdresser. And so I went to catering college because I've always been a grafter. I had a milk round at school and all that. I've always wanted money. I've always wanted to do well. So I went to catering college, and then in my spare time and weekends, I did hairdressing. And there was a very famous hairdresser in Liverpool called Peter Collins, who I worked for. Andrew Collins, who was on This Morning for years with Liz, it was his dad. So I was doing hairdressing, catering, and working every hour God sends. Plus, my mum had a little corner shop, so I was helping out in the shop. And then I thought, which way am I going to go? And I gave up hairdressing because I was sick to death of women complaining and moaning about their husbands and all the crap they had in their weddings and their birthdays and whatever. And where did I finish up? On a late note phone in with a lot of women complaining about their husbands. So I went to catering, worked on the ships, worked in Eastbourne, worked at the Cafe Royal in Regent Street in London, and then working the Cabin Club. One night in the Cabin Club, the band were ill. I was in the chef's gear with the chef's hat, the proper white hat, running 3 restaurants. And I said, why don't you play records, have a disco? I honestly did not know what a disco was because there was no discos in Liverpool. It was just I'd heard about it in London. And they said, what do you do? I said, pay records. And you said, they're going to dance. I said, well, why don't we try? So I had 1 turntable, 10 records, and it was, come on, clap your hands on the dance floor. I didn't know what I was doing. I honestly didn't know what I was doing. And it took off. And it was absolutely crazy. And then they said to me, we'd like you to be the DJ, because the band, I worked with the band, so I knew it was the Billy Ellis Trio, and it was the old-fashioned double bass, the party's over, bam, bam, bam. It was that type of music. And then the disco music was like, whoa, because in my day years ago, you danced to live music and sat down to records. So it was a different way round. So they said to me, we want you to be the DJ. So I went to my mum and told her. She wept uncontrollably. She said, all those years at catering college, you got your City and Guilds 150, 151. What's this new job? I put records on. Oh, this bit I love. So I was earning £15 a week, running 3 restaurants, working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, absolute £15. And they said to me, right, we want you to be the DJ. How much do you want? I said, pardon? How much do you want? I thought, you can't ask money for playing records. I mean, don't be stupid. And I wasn't being clever. I was being like, so they said to me, how much do you want? And they were hard guys. It was Ian Bell, Brian Gilbertson, Mrs. Windsor, 3 of them. They were my bosses. I always remember, just like we're sitting now. So come on, how much do you want? And they said, we'll give you £20 and that's it. So hang on. So that's £20 for 2 hours playing records, not smelling the chips. And I was so shocked. And I went, £20? They went, 25, and that's the last offer. So I went to £25 from £15 a week. And the first week, I was so embarrassed asking for my money. I was never embarrassed again.
Well, you've made so many people happy over the years. It must be a lovely feeling knowing, either live entertainment or, when you're on radio or contributing to a TV show that you're making people happy, Pete, and that's a lovely quality. Are you aware of how happy you make people feel? Because it's obvious in, just a few months that I've been in Liverpool and, got to know you a little bit, that's what you do. I think it's such a lovely quality and you make connections easily, and just being happy and polite, it makes so much difference to somebody's day, doesn't it?
It's hard work sometimes. I mean, you first asked how I got into radio. From that, I then moved on, and it's in my autobiography, which is called Pete Price Name Dropper, which you can't buy in the shops because it's out of stock, but you can get it on eBay for £1.
Hey, there we go.
I get 10 pence of that. But no, going to the point, it started to build. And if you're not happy, Liverpool people will make you happy. And believe me, it's been a painful time in my life when I've had to go on, when I lost my mum, when I was put into a mental institute to be cured of being gay. I mean, I've had a lot of problems in my life. Then when mum died, trying to find my father, trying to find my mother. So there's been a lot of pain. So and because you're in the business, it's a front. And my home is full of clowns. There's a clown behind me there. The reason I love clowns is behind every face is this unbelievable mask that there's a lot of pain. So I like to make other people happy. And it was only when I started walking around town after the first year of my late night phoning was when I realized how important you keep me alive. I get stopped all the time. My mum's passed away now, but thank you very much for all the pleasure you gave her. Because it doesn't matter how much money you've got. The pain late at night is the worst time. Yeah. And in fact, on Channel 5, there's just been the most night caller, which was based in Liverpool and based on me.
Oh my goodness!
Really interesting, that 5-part drama.
Yeah, is it Sean Pertwee? I think is he.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, great actor
who plays me, but kept saying mate. I would never say mate. I hate the word mate. Hey mate. All right, mate. I'll tell you what was amazing about that program. If anybody watched it, the guy, and I'm sorry I don't know his name, the guy who played the taxi driver was he was the listener. He played that part because I'd been down that road where it crosses the line where you're my friend. Well, no, we talk on radio. No. Yeah. We're mates. We can have a coffee. It's a complex thing. I always used to say it was like being a priest in a confessional box. Because, I mean, some people have told me the most unbelievable stories. And after 50 years, I've got a million stories. And things like I had a thing called the Dateline, called Evening Encounter. Nobody else was doing it. There's no apps or anything. We had genuinely 10 weddings. And a girl came running up to me a couple of years ago in the Pride March and threw her arms around me. My mum and dad met through your Dateline. I wouldn't have been here if it hadn't been for you. It's things like that you don't realise and forget.
Yeah, and radio is such an immediate, intimate medium, isn't it, Pete? And when your program finished, do you find that you missed your listeners as much as they missed you? Because it must have been quite tricky to think, oh my goodness, I can't be chatting to these people every night. And you gave so much pleasure and security through your shows.
It was interesting. When I left because, and I'm going to be very honest with you now, Ben, I left because I wasn't getting the calls. Social media changed a phone-in. You get the national phone-ins now from London. Yeah. We were only local radio, but we, at the height of our career in radio, we had 1 million listeners on a local radio station. So when I left, a lot of my listeners turned against me. Absolutely turned against me. How dare you leave us? How dare you leave our lives? And I never thought of it. And when I left, finally, I mourned for 6 months like somebody had died. And it was the weirdest feeling in my life. But I made the decision to leave because it was time.
Yeah, yeah. But you must have drawn on all your goodwill, the core of you, Pete. You've got such a kind spirit. You really have that, and you've built back again, haven't you? You're on TV shows. You've got your theatre shows. Pete Price Holds Court. The podcast. It's kind of non-stop. Where do you find the energy? Is it just interacting with people? That's what you thrive off.
I interact with people and thrive on that, yes, but I also get frightened of getting old. And I see my friends, and some of them I went to school with, and I go, please, am I the same age as you? And I believe you must never give up. And I always say to my friends, if you ever want to fall out with me, just do one thing. Buy me a pair of tartan slippers from Marks and Spencer's, and I know that you have finished with me completely, because that to me is old age. And everyone's looking down now going, I've got my tartan slippers on. No, but that's why I do it. I go out all the time, and I'm out every single day, because I think if you don't, you age, and it scares me. I don't want to go yet.
And that's so important, isn't it? Because whatever age you are, if you can make those connections, there's so much good out there. And I think a lot of people forget that these days, which I think is really sad. That human connection.
Yeah, I must tell you, now I'm older. By the way, I'm 78. So in case people are older, I found out
you are officially looking good.
I found out what old age was the other day. We were at, I was doing a function at the Radisson Red in Liverpool. Now, the Radisson Red in Liverpool has many hotels, but this was the Great Western Hotel next to the Empire. It was the most magnificent building on God's earth. It's now been restored, and Radisson Red have got it. So I had this function on, and Lady Anne Dodd, Ken Dodd's wife, came, and we love calling her Lady Anne. I think she likes being called Lady Anne. So we have this wonderful function, and there's this amazing building, and there's no railings to go down the stairs because it's a listed building. So I said, because I've got old-fashioned values, I walk on the outside of a woman because I don't want anyone splashed. I open the door from them, and whether it's whatever they say, I love it. That's the way I am. So I said to Lady Anne, let me help you down the stairs. She went, you're lovely, Peter. You're really kind. Let me get the car's at the bottom. Let me help you down. And I helped her down the stairs. And we got to the car, and she looked at me and she went, as you're of a certain age, let me help you back up. We were there for 2 days, up and down. People were saying, what's wrong with those two? They're just helping each other going back. And people were bringing tea out and...
Oh my goodness. And Ken Dodd, my goodness, what a legend of the comedy scene he was. A real character. I saw him in Panto, I think, gosh, at the Birmingham Alex, it would have been, blimey, mid-80s, something like that. And just a legend. And his live shows were legendary, weren't they, Pete?
Well, 5 hours in the end.
Yeah.
And his opening gag was, if you come on a coach, it's time and a half. The worst thing he ever did to me. Worked with him loads of times. You Ken, love him. But I was at the Playhouse doing a charity night, and Ken said, I like you, Peter, so let me introduce you. And I went, please, no, please, I beg you, please. 45 minutes later, I walked onto my own footsteps and off. He destroyed me because he did 45 minutes. Follow that. Thanks.
My goodness. And you've seen some of the big comics work, Pete. And do you find they have that skill of being able to like tailor their act to the audience? You know, I've worked with actors in my theatre career, and I think the best ones are when, you know, they've got their core material, but they're just slightly tweaking it each night. And that's a real skill, isn't it? You must have seen some real good comedians at work.
One of my favourite comedians, and he was like a dad to me, and he was a dear friend, was Bob Monkhouse. And what I have always said, when we've lost Bob Monkhouse and Dave Allen and Bernard Manning, love or hate him, and Scylla and people like this, what we've lost, anybody can sing, anybody can tell a gag. We lose stagecraft. I remember being on tour with Petula Clark, and I remember watching when she bowed and she came up slowly and the audience stood with her, and she was doing it with her fingers. She was bringing them up. And psychologically, she was telling them to it's stagecraft. It's the most remarkable thing. And you learn the hard way. And my radio show worked because I'm adopted, because because I'm gay, because I've worked in comics. So all that helps me with that. Going to my stage act as a comic, different parts of the country take humor differently. It was interesting. Recently, I've just been to see Boys in the Black Stuff, the Alan Bleasdale series that they brought to the Royal Court. They persuaded Alan to bring it out as a play, and the National Theatre took it over, and it got the most unbelievable reviews, and now it's going to be touring the country. The point I'm making with that is, when I went to London, because I went down for the opening night, they laughed in totally different places to the way we laugh in the North.
How
so
funny.
The point I'm making is, with comedy, it was the same. Leicester, they never laughed at me, but they liked it. The Northeast, you have to work slower. Ireland, you have to walk at a pace. I must tell you a very dreadful story, but a fabulous story. We're talking about Ireland. So working as a comic, I went all over the country, went all over the world, worked for the army, went to the Falklands, went to Belize, everywhere. I've had a great career. Never been a big star, but always done well. So I go to Ireland in the Troubles, into Belfast, in the days when it wasn't safe to go and it was surrounded by... I'd stayed at the Royal Avenue Hotel, which had been bombed twice. I'd stayed at the other hotel, which had been the biggest hotel in the world that's been bombed so many times. Anyway, this particular night, I'm working in the Abercorn, which is a club in the middle of Belfast. And what I didn't know was underneath was was the IRA main office. Didn't know anything about that because I wasn't clever over politics. But I was working there. Staying in the Royal Avenue, long story short, did all right in my act. Absolutely fabulous. Went back to my hotel. There is a man sitting in my bedroom on my bed in black gloves, black coat, black polo neck, with his hand in his inside pocket. And he said, "I believe you've been talking to the soldiers," with an Irish accent, to which I collapsed. Defecated? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Just completely went to pieces, to be woken up by him slapping, saying, "I'm the doorman, it was a joke, it was a joke, it was a joke, I'm the doorman." I went straight on the next plane home, didn't even change the pants. I just had to get out of that hotel. That's comedy. What?
Oh my God. And how did you feel at that moment, Pete? It must have been horrific to think that was it.
He did it. And it took me months to get over that.
Oh, I would be absolutely traumatized.
Your question, why I was a broadcaster, because I'm just because I go everywhere. I go everywhere.
I love it.
So I'm working. Everything was great. I had a TV series that never happened, that Bob Monkhouse wrote, me and 6 other comics. And they told us on Christmas Eve it was cancelled. And the show was tied up with a summer season and a tour. And that was my lowest ebb in the business. All those things. And I was offered a radio show, which was music at the beginning. And I thought, maybe it's best to be a big fish in a little sea rather than a little fish in a big sea. That's why I went into radio. And the show developed from music to more phone in, less music, more phone. And it like comedy, it found its level.
Yeah, and hugely successful, awards left, right, and centre, Pete. And then to have the honour of being inducted into the Radio Academy Hall of Fame, that must have been wow. That must have been such a lovely feeling for you.
Yeah. Nicky Campbell.
Yeah.
Inaugurated into the Academy, same as me.
But to be commended for all your years of broadcasting and for helping so many, I think it's wonderful. You committed a whole life, whole career to being, there in people's living rooms every night. And like you say, the toughest part of the day, and people they can have really tough lives, but it must have been so lovely and comforting. That's the thing, isn't it? The comfort of hearing your voice every evening.
That's why I carried on my podcast.
Yeah.
I don't make any money out of it. And my old producer, who's got a fabulous job, I'm going to say puts it together. We don't do anything. It's on my phone. I do it on my phone. Just none of that technical stuff you're with. And it's just, and all the mistakes, everything I make, which I did on radio, I used to make some terrible gaffes. that's why I did what I did. I've got 187 episodes on.
Yeah, it's
And now
amazing.
with Alexa, it's incredible that people that don't know the technical side of it, but have got an Alexa, can actually ask to hear the podcast. And it's like switching on the radio. So that makes life a little bit easier for them. And
Yeah.
we apparently have something like 700,000 downloads a month.
That's amazing. And it just goes to show how popular you are. You've been helping generations in Liverpool throughout the years, and how lovely to think that somebody might be listening whose grandparents listen to you as well. And it's almost that familiarity, that comfort that people enjoy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was interesting too how it developed over the years with social media, because all of a sudden Scousers abroad started listening through the telephone, through apps and everything. And we did a fabulous feature, which we did for 10 years, Scousers Abroad. And we went round the world looking for Scousers abroad and interviewing them like we're doing now. And we had some fabulous ones. Fabulous ones. We went to Ecuador, we went to Australia, we went to Hawaii.
My
We just went
word.
everywhere finding Scousers abroad.
Yeah.
It was great. We actually got somebody in Ecuador on a mountain, and we got a signal, and he was crying because he was just speaking to his family and why did he go, and it's all that.
Yeah.
We had one Scouser abroad, lives in Cyprus. Never forget it. And she went, I said, "Are you enjoying it?" She went, "I hate every minute of this country." And it turns out she only stays for her children, doesn't like her husband,
Really?
but stays for her children, comes home as many times as she can. And all she did was go to Marks and Spencer's in Church Street and spend 3 hours, 5 days a week, just saying, back and back, England.
P, it's so lovely to chat to you. Thinking about Liverpool as a city, you must be so proud of the city. It's inclusive, it's cultural, it's effervescent. It's just such a great place to be, to live, to work. You must be very proud of the city and very proud of what you've achieved growing up in that city, and how your career's developed and grown, and what a great place it's been for you.
Yeah, it's had its dark times. The change in
Mm.
Liverpool was 2008, capital culture, and life changed completely and utterly. And it was remarkable. And now we're one of the top tourist attractions in the world. And the ships are now coming back. Southampton tried to block us
Yeah.
on that, but the ships are coming back. And the wonderful thing is, when you come in on a cruise ship, it's 5 minutes and you're in the centre of Liverpool. And we've got tours of Liverpool Football Club and Everton. We've got tours of the Cavern. It's a remarkable place, but it wasn't always like this. But now we're way up on top, and we blew the world apart with Eurovision
Oh,
before last. It was, no one will ever top that, for all of us, for us, for the Eurovision, everybody. People came from all over the world. It was remarkable. It was the happiest time for me.
yeah, and the city just accepted the event, didn't they? It was.
Yeah.
I can imagine it must have been such a buzz to be here during Eurovision.
It was tremendous. It was absolutely tremendous. And I did a Eurovision do at the Hilton Hotel, which is just across the way from the M&S Bank Arena where it was being televised. And I was one of the judges on mine. And I worked from 6:30 till 12 o'clock. And I was legless by 12 o'clock, but I'm still doing it. Still doing it.
Oh, brilliant, Pete. I love it. It's honestly so great to see you. We're in Benjy's cafe, of course, a virtual cafe. But I just wonder I love to ask all my guests, what's on the dinner menu tonight? I know you're a busy bee, Pete. Are you out at a theatre show or performing yourself, or is there time for some nice supper?
Got a couple of people coming for dinner tonight, and I've done a nice quick
Ooh.
pasta. But as a trained chef, because I was a chef,
Yeah.
what was interesting about that was I learned my catering trade. Then it went off because everyone was eating out of a bag, plastic bags. Food had changed completely. Now it's gone back to the way it was, with the julienne vegetables, with cauliflower soup, with petit pois la française. It's changed back to the way it was. But I got rid of my dining room. So I live in a penthouse. Well, it's a council flat, but it looks like a penthouse.
Yeah.
So I've got this penthouse, and I have a dining room just over there, and I got rid of my dining room. And the reason I got rid of my dining room, I had 8 people, it's about 3 years ago, 8 people for dinner, dear friends. I've got 2 balconies. I had Betty, excuse me, who was very drunk, decided, because I'm at the top, decided to take all her clothes off apart from her bra and knickers and lie, it was snowing, lie on the ground outside as if she'd fallen off the balcony, to which all my neighbours came out and somebody ordered an ambulance.
Oh.
I had not vintage champagne, vintage port, and I was watching through the crack of the door, and one of my friends, Debbie, was pouring it at half-pint glasses and putting it where Colette was sitting, so they were blaming Colette, and I went, do you know, and then the final blow, I'd made, what did I make? Tartar sauce, but I made my own mayonnaise, made it, completely did it properly, and they were dolloping it on the lettuce leaves, on the support act, on the starter. And I went, that's it, enjoy it, because the dining room's going. It's now got a 3-piece suite in there, no dining room.
Oh, lovely.
We eat off our knees.
Oh, fantastic. Nice and relaxing too. Pete, it's been so lovely to speak to you today. I just want to thank you again for being so kind and friendly when I first met you at the Blue gig, and for being so kind and friendly and open during our chat today. And I'm sure on behalf of all of your listeners over the years, just being an ear to people, to listen, to support, and to help. And you must be so proud. I mean, your career is still absolutely flying. You're chock-a-blocker, but you must be so proud of what you've done for the people of Liverpool.
I have, and thank you for that. I will say to you, I think you're charming. I think you're delightful. There's one thing you do, though, that I can't get my head around.
Go on.
The most boring thing on God's earth is watching cricket. I know you're one of the top cricket commentators in the country. I think it's the most dreary thing I've ever seen in my life. And when I was at school, if I wasn't batting, I was sulking. There was no way I was fielding out there. Got to get that out of my system.
Pete, you look good, head to toe in white.
Don't mind the white bit, it's the rest of it.
Well, I'm at Old Trafford soon, so I'm going to get you to some cricket. That's my task for the summer.
I went to Lourdes. It's in France. I went to Lourdes. That was when I was looking for God. No, I went to Lourdes. I sat there one day and I didn't know what I was doing. I honestly didn't know what I was doing. And if I lived with one of those fellas that rubbed his ball on his whites, I'd kill him. If I had to do the washing for him, I'd kill him.
I know, you'd have to get the hot wash on the go, wouldn't you, Pete? My goodness. Oh, Pete, well, have a lovely, lovely day. Thank you so much for joining me in Benjy's Cafe. Beautiful.
A great story to finish with. So I went, it was for Clatterbridge Hospital, which is by Clare House. So I do as much as I can in my own little way for charities. So picture this. So we had a full orchestra, full choir in the Catholic Cathedral, which is known as Paddy's Wigwam. So you've got this beautiful thing, and it looks like a wigwam. You've seen it. You've been in Liverpool. So full orchestra. I am then hosting in between. We've got singers, choir, whatever. And I told a story. And I said, when I was 12 years old, my mum used to knit, and she was a big knitter, which many were in those days. And I used to think that I'd be in show business one day, and I used to get a knitting needle, size 12, it was green, and I would put on Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto on my record player and conduct. And I told the story, and the conductor laughed, and the audience laughed, and there was about 1,000 people in the cathedral. To finish off, he played, and I've forgotten what it's called, but he played that piece of music. Da-da-dum, 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 dum-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum.
Yeah.
That's how we finished. He, after he'd started it, came down, gave me the baton, and told me to carry on with the orchestra.
No.
I got up, and there's a video out there. It's out there to see. I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Of me, but because I knew it, I conducted. I knew how to take it up, where to bring it down, and then at the end, when they went wild, I went up, 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 up. Ladies and gentlemen, the orchestra. I mean, I've never done anything like that. I mean, I never slept that night because I just watched the video over and over and over again. And I'm doing it again this year. So who knows? He might invite me up again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll be in my cricket whites. You can be in your tails. I think we'll make a good combo. Pete, it's been so lovely. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day ahead. Keep smiling. Keep making as many people happy as you do. It's been absolutely joyous. Thank you for joining me in Benjy's Cafe. Pete Price. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for listening to Benjy's Cafe podcast. Isn't Pete fantastic? Make sure you hit follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone, and if you can, please leave a review. No booking required, available wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget, a new episode every Tuesday. In episode 22, I'll be chatting to the actor Diane Pilkington. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.